paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, that's downright refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery, and I'm going to welcome myself back to Brainstorm Brewery because I've been gone. I've been away for the past 2 weeks in Barcelona, covering the Pro Tour, jumping into the ocean, sailing on a sailboat. I did a lot of fun stuff. I walked a lot. I exercised. I survived, which was impressive given that multiple people passed out from the heat in the venue. So all in all, I'd say it was a successful trip for me. And did I mention that Merfolk was the top performing deck in Modern? Perfect vacation.
Boo this man.
Gone and forgotten. You went on like a big tirade, but you said I was gone, and I'm just gonna you were gone and forgotten.
That's okay. While you forgot about me, I was watching Merfolk win. I was getting an entire row to myself on the flight over there. I curled up in the fetal position and slept like a child. It was amazing. Not like my children, they don't sleep, but like a child who sleeps. That's how I slept.
You were dead recently, and we had to cast Animate Dead on you, and I'm kind of thinking about playing a Disenchant on it.
No,
It's
I
not.
came back with less power, but
Cast with the softball. I'm just gonna play a murder. Like that's. I don't.
Well, we had to raise Dead first, and then we had to discard him to hand size.
I'm back. Modern's back. Also, Preordain is back. It's been a decade since that card was legal. The ban list contained no bans. The One Ring remains legal.
I have a desire
Lucas
in my
Bowmasters
mind to murder you right now.
Remains legal. Is it because you wanted to be the one who talked about Modern?
No, that's just a recurring. It's a welcome intrusive thought. Just
You should speak to your therapist about that. Perhaps
Yeah.
your doctor.
The last
cops.
time-
Maybe I should speak to the cops about that.
The last time someone cast a Preordain against me in Modern, the following turn, they made 18 Goblin tokens, then kicked a Goblin Bushwhacker and killed me, so I'm scared.
Last time somebody played a Preordain against me in Modern, I had to call a judge because that was the week after the card got banned.
Look, the last time someone cast Preordain in Modern, One Direction was still...
Was it there was one event after the PT in Philly, or was there any events besides
No events
locals?
after the PT. The PT in Philly, which was famous for a lot of reasons, but and then there was a big slew of ban, and they hit Storm immediately.
Yeah, the actual
Because
problem
at the
card.
time, Ponder and Preordain were the only above par 1-mana cantrips that were legal in the format. Peak was legal, which was not exactly the height of card selection.
It was legal, and it still is too.
True.
Gataxian Probe was also legal then too,
Well,
which time has shown was actually the best one all along.
Yes, that's fair. But yeah, so Modern is in a place. I guess get your rings, get your Bowmasters. Format seems pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie. Merfolk is good. That means you've got a good format. Everything goes from there.
Corbin, can you break down the sample size? Were there a lot of people playing Merfolk at the... Can you give us all the details about Merfolk at the Pro Tour?
How many
One
fish
person-
were there in the sea?
One person broke the format, Dan Christoph. He went 8-2.
And I believe
World Championship
the
with
quote was, I would have played this deck regardless if it was good or not. I've been on this deck for 13 years or something like that. I think that was the quote.
And it was good. And now he'll
That's-
beat the World Championship.
That's the thing about the Pro Tour that I actually love is, with enough hard work and enough perseverance, anybody can qualify regardless of what they're playing.
Remember the year that you could...
I love how you can just
qualify
wear
on-
anything, Cass. I love how
I
you
love how I
just
just wear anything. Just anything.
Remember the
I'm
year
so
you
confident.
could qualify on Planeswalker points?
Do.
I can't
Remember qualifying on ELO?
About that. There was a number of people who flew around the world to grind the most The way it worked back then is someone came in and their big push was qualify for the Pro Tour playing at F&M. Hey, that's a cool push, right? So F&M gave you some amount of Planeswalker points that would accumulate. But bigger events gave you more Planeswalker points because they came with multipliers. So eventually people figured out that while playing in a Grand Prix might be good, playing in a ETQ, those things might be good. Playing in Grand Prix side events gave you the full 8x qualifier, and you could grind the hell out of those. And you had people traveling around the world doing that just to get that invitation to the Pro Tour. That system lasted exactly 1 year, and it's now just a fun little tidbit of history. So anything's got to be better than that.
I do remember back when ELO qualifications were a thing, there was a player who was local to me who had to he did the math, needed a couple of ELO points to make the qualifying for the Pro Tour or whatever, and he was playing in an F&M, and it's if you lose at F&M, you're just you lose the max amount of points at that point, but if you get your wins, he gets to go play in Paris or whatever. And I remember he was very far behind on board in game 3 against a teenager, and was just kind of listen, man, I gotta tell you why you gotta concede to me. And that is the worst shit ever.
That was bad. Very briefly, I was in the top 100 worldwide on ELO. And it was the height of my magic. And
it's still in your Twitter bio, actually.
I played in day 2 of the I played in day 2 of the tournament and was no longer in the top 100. But
that's the story he breaks out for 2
there.
beers. The 1 beer story is the Blake Griffin one. The 2 beers is, let me tell you about the time I was top 100, double digits, baby. Dad, are we gonna have dinner? Double digits. You think your dad affords Kraft mac and cheese? You think he's a triple digit player? Ugh! You think he's a triple digit arena player? Dad, I'm hungry.
DJ 3 drinks in. I tell you about the time I was ranked number 4 on the ladder for Warcraft 3.
And 4 drinks? It's the most fun a girl can have without taking her clothes off, but it's more fun if she does.
4 drinks is I was an award-winning photographer. One a journalism award.
I think my 4 drinks is I'm trying to find a GameCube so I can show off Wind Waker glitches to pick up chicks.
Yeah, I think my 0 drink one is, did you know I Mario speedrun?
Which Mario game do you speedrun?
Oh, I'm really bad at it, but I was thinking about getting a travel setup so I could just bust it out in the airport, self-contained little CRT TV with the N64 plugged in and Mario, and I could just sit there in the airport and speedrun.
There's no shot you can fly with a CRT, right?
Do what?
There's no shot you can fly with a CRT. There's is there a tube of neon gas or something?
I don't know how it works per se.
There's a cathode ray tube. I feel like you cannot bring that on an airplane.
I just need an honest experience that isn't messed up by lag or delay or whatever, right? So that
Corbin,
I can pull it out in the middle of the airport and start playing.
Corbin, there's easier ways to get onto humiliation subreddits.
No. Think about how many people take a picture of me and put me on the internet.
Saw this guy.
Yeah, how cool is that?
I will say that we had Evo over the weekend, and it doesn't really happen as much because Evo is a bigger event than ever now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen as much, but I really miss the old days of melty blood setups in hotel bathrooms where someone balances a flat screen on the toilet or whatever, and it's just 2 guys playing in the bathtub, or there's a class where some guy's just holding a CRT in the street plugged into an outlet on the side of the building, and 2 guys just got their fight pads on trash cans.
There's the famous picture of the 2 guys duct taped to the ceiling with the controllers.
Yeah.
That was a Halo LAN party, I think.
I think it was certainly a LAN. I used to do, not the duct taping, but we topped out at 22 people at a LAN party in high school over the course of a weekend. It was a 4-day weekend type thing, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night type event at a friend's house. And we had 2 full Dota games going at one point in-house. And the breakers were awful.
They were not ready for that.
It was the microwave that did it in. it took us 2 times to figure it out that it was somebody trying to like microwave Hot Pockets or whatever that turned off the whole house. So,
It's
but
the
you
most
know what?
gamer
It
coded
was fun.
sentence.
And this was back in the day, right? So this was like 2006. So those monitors were huge. Those computers were huge, yeah, and it was a fuck ton of work. So my buddy just eventually acquired 10 monitors and just lined them up in his like his attic that had been built out in like his bonus room, you know. So yeah, we had a great setup back then. If you're wondering how you become incredibly mediocre at Dota, like
I do.
Well,
I
that
do.
was a 5 beer story from Corbin Hostler, everyone. That was. I'm sticking through it. I'm still sober. I don't know how. Corbin's tempting me to just commit alcohol poisoning.
I
right
tried to
now.
get DJ earlier, but he sniffed out before the cast, but he sniffed out the bait.
If he has one more beer, if Corbin goes to beer number 6, we will see his penis on this cast, unfortunately. It is not a pretty sight, folks, let me tell
if
you.
we're making the push to Pornhub.
It's true. Who
No
wants to
one's
talk
ever tried
about...
that. Why has no one ever tried a naked podcast and posted it to Pornhub?
Do you know they haven't?
I guess.
There are like a lot of people, like OnlyFans girls, who stream video games naked on like porn sites.
Okay, well, I guess.
I don't know if it's like fully like legal with like copyright stuff, but I don't know if you're allowed to play Super Mario 64 on like LiveTube or whatever. But like, you're certainly not allowed to have your tits out on Twitch, so.
You gotta go to Kick.
Just a
for that.
Nintendo lawyer gripping his cross while he's writing out the cease and desist.
I had a moment at the game store over the weekend where I was talking to an old friend of mine who I like mentioned the name Ron Jeremy. He's like, "Who the hell's that?" And I got to be like, "That's the guy who played Mario in the Super Mario Brothers porno that Nintendo like removed from the earth and like scoured off the planet and hid in their vault." Anyways, for more fun Nintendo pornography facts, check out Brainstorm Brewery, your home for Nintendo pornography facts and magic finance.
Speaking of Magic Finance, we've got a lot coming up over the next year. We've got the new sets that were announced by Wizards over the weekend, along with the ban list containing no changes but the unbanning and preordain. We've got
And
info
Mind's
on the
Desire.
next universes beyond. We've got info on the latest Magic-centric expansions. A whole bunch. JJ will pop up that graphic with the timeline up here on screen. Check it out. All right, DJ Cast, what are your thoughts on what the news with the updates we got from Wizards over the weekend?
I am super into the ban list changes. I think I wanted something unbanned in Modern, and I think it couldn't be anything particularly huge. As far as Legacy goes, the casual format, and I don't play those anymore, so... Mind's Desire is probably not that good. It's probably just like worse than a million other things you can do. But I think WotC's pretty happy with where most of their formats are and are kind of being safe with unbans.
Yeah, I mean, I would always rather prefer more unbans, and I think I talked about last week that it's just nice when they try, and I'm okay with giving Wizards a gold star for trying if an unban doesn't work out. So maybe they unban Earthcraft and then it goes to $300 and then nobody plays the card, or they unban Earthcraft and everybody plays the card, it's broken, then they ban it again. I think both of those are fine outcomes, and that is why I am always happy to see more cards unbanned, like Golgari Grave Troll, just like punishing, like just throw stuff at the wall, see what happens. Like,
well, maybe they never unban Splinter Twin, but it spikes every time anyway.
I mean, I bought my 4 for this cycle, so I paid my dues. It really felt like this was the one. It really did.
It always does. It always does.
It could. That's.
I think there's
The meme is so much better than the reality. If they unbanned it, it would probably
Lucy
be
with the
unplayable.
football, just
It's more
ripping
fun
it
this
out.
way. It's
I have a place of birthing pots around here somewhere.
What is it, Half-Life 3? Half-Life 3.
Half-Life 3 came out though.
Whatever. Yeah, and it's probably sucked. The meme was always going to be better than the reality.
It was a VR game, and it's like no one played it.
Exactly. But they remember the meme.
It's
And
like Schrodinger's
that's-
video game. It could be good or it could be bad. We'll never know. Like, no one has a VR setup. Everyone who
They've
does
done-
is just a
they've done,
chronic
like-
masturbator, so they don't play video games.
Well, people have done reasonably large, no ban list modern tournaments, and we've seen data on what theoretically is good and what is bad. And
That's
I
not like
realize
real
that's-
though.
I know it's not the same, but we've seen what rises to the cream of that crop, and I think it's worth picking around on the lower tiers of like, oh, somebody brought, I don't know, like Wild in the Cattle or whatever, and it did poorly.
Sure.
Okay, and we unbanned that card, etc. Like,
It's weird because like cards like Preordain are way better when the power level is super high because your best cards are so much better than like your next best cards that finding them is really important. And like, Splinter Twin is probably a lot worse in a format where, like, if you unban Splinter Twin and Dark Depths, one of those would be way better than the other because of the other's presence, right?
yeah.
And also, part of it is that you can't... Mana is at a premium in Modern in 2023 in a way that it wasn't. In, well, maybe at that first Pro Tour, but certainly that it wasn't, say, in 2016 or whatever, right? Where the power of a card like Preordain or Ponder to set you up or keep you going was just enormously important. And these days, the cards, like, we have way more options. There's Consider, which is a really good one, and there's Opt, which people were playing. And I mean, yeah, Preordain was banned, but Preordain is not, like, who's to say Preordain is way better than Consider in a graveyard deck at instant speed or Opt at instant speed, right? So it just, I don't know that it's going to make a big difference. Maybe I'm wrong about the power level of it, but you don't get to just dirtle with one mana in Modern very much, especially in a deck like Storm deck that would want to play it. You don't have the time to spend 3 turns casting cantrips to try to go off.
But like, if casting cantrips is part of going off, that's like I know Faithless Looting was the key card in the deck, but with this new cantrip, with one this powerful, maybe Phoenix is good. Like, you can just play like Consider, Opt, Preordain, and Serum Visions. Like, you don't have to play Sleight of Hand anymore. You know, maybe you just have like a critical density of 1 mana cantrips to make something like that good, or
yeah, it's possible. Modern's also become a Chalice of the Void format, which is not a bad thing at all. But it
hasn't really though.
Do what?
Chalice of the Void isn't being played to stop 1 mana cards though. It's being played to stop 0 mana cards.
It's being played to stop 0 mana cards. But if you're playing against Phoenix and they show you 16 cantrips, I'm boarding it in. Right?
Sure.
Like, that's a thing. Like, you board it in and set it against Tron. You know, like, there's uses there. So there's just a lot of the point is, I think that it's safe to unban. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like a very safe conservative unban. I actually am really curious to see if it makes spell-based combo better, because it's been pretty bad for a while. Maybe like Ad Nauseam plus Angel's Grace gets better or something. Like, there's like the Thassa's Oracle stuff you can do. Maybe this goes an inverter, make it a modern deck.
Murktide could use this with Ragavan worse than it's ever been. This is a big upgrade to Murktide.
Yeah. I could almost see like Murktide decks stopping playing red and becoming like a blue-black, almost more controlling deck. Because like Ragavan's embarrassing in the face of Orcish Bowmasters, and just like getting to play Bowmasters.
Yeah.
This could be good in like a Goryo's deck. Those have kind of been seeing a little bit of play, and like a little more consistency would be huge there.
I'm trying to think. Now you've got me curious what the Murktide decks, if they like were able to swap over to like a blue-black shell or something. Anyway. That's the point, right? It's got us thinking. It's a good unban. Unbans are always good, right? If you're at a format, if your format is in a place where you feel safe enough to unban something, it means 1, you didn't have to ban anything, which is good, and 2, that you feel it can handle it.
Like, how many times has an unbanning gone wrong? Like just Grave Troll, right? Has there been other unbans that have been?
I think just Grave Troll. Maybe probably Vintage, but I don't know enough about it.
Sure. I can't think of any other unbans that I feel like were really truly problematic. I'm sure we're missing one, and someone in the comments is going to be like, "You fucking idiots!" And
well, you know
that
what?
person's
That's
correct to say
engagement.
so.
Let's go. All right. Well, let's move on to the our next segment here. And our next segment being brought to you, of course, by the best place where I spent a lot of time catching up on what's happened over the past 2 weeks. MTG Stocks, number one resource for Magic finance data on the internet, run by an incredible team. Content on the website. The premium side unlocks a whole new set of tools. You know it. You love it if you use it. And if you're not using it, you should be. MTG Stocks is where we go for our breaking bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
All right, Corbin, you've had 2 weeks to learn how to play Breaking Bulk. You're fresh off the boat, your sailboat or whatever. I have a Betrayers of Kamigawa red uncommon.
Ginju.
Flames the Blood Hand?
No to both.
Flames of the Blood Hand, I think, is maybe sadly not even a pick.
Yeah. It's not Genji would also have been my other guess. There's like the it's like a white and blue card, hate card, maybe?
No.
You said
Aura Barbs, maybe?
No.
Yeah.
Brothers.
It says no reprints, I believe.
What set did you say?
Betrayers?
Brothers.
The Corbin translation is that is the Shuriken, and the Oklahoma translation is that is the big pointy star.
The brothers, I don't know,
Yamazaki?
No.
Yeah.
This card has been on a slow upward climb for the past 10 years. It has doubled in price.
Is it a
over 10
samurai?
years. No.
Okay.
Confirmed this is the only printing of the card.
Gotcha. I am tapping out. I do not know my Betrayers of Kamigawa quite that well. I'm sure you'll say it and I'll be like, you got me.
Well, let's hear it, DJ.
Overblaze.
Oh.
I don't know this one offhand.
I
It's a
actually
4-mana
don't recall what it
instant,
does, but I remember the
arcane.
art.
Each time target permanent would deal damage to a creature or player this turn, it deals double that damage to that creature or player instead. It also has Splice onto Arcane.
Yeah,
for
I've seen
whatever.
this card.
But you're usually using it in a combo with like Heartless Hidetsugu or some big damage effect to just zonk somebody out in a single turn. You play this on your Perforos, then you start making goblet like things just you kill people really quick. This card is roughly 50 cents, and it has, I mean, I guess now that I read it and remember that it has Splice onto Arcane, now we know why this is the only printing of the card. But it's just a nice little, if you find it in Betrayers of Kamigawa, most Betrayers Uncommons are probably reasonable to pull out. Just that set is very old, and if you find that kind of treasure trove, then you're also finding, like, Footsteps of the Goryo level picks and all of these crazy saviors and champions cards, but this is just a nice one. It's a nice lower end pick that'll probably be picked over. It'll probably still be in there when the bulk has been picked already.
Alright.
That's a little
actually-
bit of a Roku pick, I gotta say, DJ. That's
Oh,
a
I've
cheap
picked
one.
this card for years. This has been a pet card of mine for a while because I used to play Heartless Hidetsugu and Commander.
Yeah, this is one that I actually remember looking up a few months ago, coming across, and because it looked like it would do a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, it's right there. All right, Cass, what are you looking at?
So I have an Urza Saga white rare creature.
That's the gears.
Faith Healer?
Everyone.
Yeah.
The gears.
I didn't have to say creature, but I did. I gave it away. I was playing with my new Abzan enchantment precon deck with the commander Narcy Fable Singer, I think her name is. And whenever you sacrifice an enchantment, you draw a card. And someone was like, you should play Faith Healer. And I looked at it and I was like, this card's awesome. Where'd you find it? And they said the bulk bins. And I found out that card's not bulk. It's like $2.
It's one of the only cards in the game that is a free sacrifice outlet for enchantments.
Yep. I looked
There's
it
a
up.
couple-
There's two other ones.
There's a couple of Togs. Yeah.
Yep. Oratog and Sankratog or something like that. The green-white one. Tomatog, I think. But yeah, those are the ones. And I put it in my deck afterwards, and I sacked like my wild growth and stuff, draw a card, and it's just you get to go crazy with it. You also gain some life, which is cool.
All right. Well, I'll tell you all, I workshopped this one on the plane ride back. My Wi-Fi loaded very slowly on the airplane, so it took me a lot of work to find. But it's
Oh, it took you a lot of work. just staring at your phone while in the sky, 35,000
staring
feet in the
at-
air, like a Greek god.
Okay, I was
Just
staring
like-
at my laptop.
Ugh, I'm doing work.
You're
on
like,
my phone.
why are the scrolls not loading?
It's taken forever to get back
That
from
was good,
space.
These mortals will not tell me what the breaking bulk is this week. Oh.
It's a Rise of the Eldrazi. Green Uncommon.
Brood Warden.
No.
It's a good guess, but Gravity
Jotty
Well?
Light.
No.
Jotty Life Strider?
No.
Jiraga Tree Speaker?
Yes.
That card's always been something, though.
That
It
card
was
is
gonna-
Soul Ring and Cube.
It was
Just
Yeah,
gonna-
that card's
everyone-
great.
it
For
was
anybody
gonna-
who has never drafted a Legacy Cube before, that card is Soul Ring.
Yeah,
take
the card's broken. It was gonna be Gravity Well, but DJ said it too fast.
So I got it twice in one breaking ball.
Well, I knew you all would get Jiraga Tree Speaker, so that's why I was doing Gravity Well.
I just want you to know, Corbin, that if you ever name any Rise of the Eldrazi card, I will get it.
And you all
you sat me
named a lot of things very quickly.
If you put me in a room with a piece of paper and a pencil and just gave me unlimited time and no access to the internet, I would write down every card in that set. If that was my goal. I've drafted that set like 1,000 times.
Band set added. No picking Rise of the Eldrazi when Cass is here, or I'll have no chance. Damn.
Corbin, let's be real. You never had a chance.
You never had a chance. This game was over before we even started.
Well,
Corbin was dead last week. He didn't have a ghost of a chance.
I like
Let's-
referential humor, y'all.
let's talk about Commander Mass. This set
Yeah.
was panned, I think is probably the conservative word to use here, by many people across the community, as it came right on the heels of Lord of the Rings and the One Ring Chase. And then this came out. I think there's more serialized cards. It's at a higher price point. People are angry. But now they've announced new sets, and quietly Commander Masters is released. What's your experience been with it at your store?
We had to turn people away on Friday because we hit our fire code max. And our fire code max is not a low number. We fired like 8 or 10 drafts or something on Friday. People are, like, despite the set being expensive and all of the negative rhetoric, like, most people who came into my shop hadn't heard any of it. They were just like, oh, cool, commander cards. Like, we think a lot about how, like, the influence that these content creators have, us included. We like to think it's a lot more than it is, but for the most part, somebody came in and was like, I heard there was a draft tonight for commander. How does that work? Like,
Yeah.
Magic's doing great because the average player is not us.
Yeah. I mean, the average player now is somebody who came in through Universes Beyond, I would expect. That's probably a reasonably high number.
Yeah, I mean, the number of players who are now regulars in our store after playing in a Lord of the Rings pre-release is like, we have like a dozen people who come through regularly now. And it's great for LGSs, it's great for WotC, I'm sure. And it's just good for the game as long as you're not a curmudgeon.
Game needs new people to exist, and I know that can like kind of border on a corporate we always need growth mentality, but like your game just has to have new players who exist, and that means you always have to be choosing when designing a game to be making decisions that will attract new players, because otherwise your game will die. And there's a reason that Magic has existed for 30 years. I remember coming into Magic and the boomers being anti-Planeswalker, because it just fundamentally changed Magic. And, you know, there's a million different iterations of that. And that's not to invalidate anyone's feelings or dislike or whatever about any particular product or line of products, but it is literally just the reality of how the game has to exist or it won't exist.
Well, and Commander Masters, even if you are a player who feels like they're being priced out of the game and feels like you can't go into the store every month now with every set release and get your usual box like you did back during Dark Ascension or Theros or Cons, the critical mass of reprints is impacting you positively even when it's impacting me negatively. Even when they crush certain cards and make them $1 after being $10 cards for a year, or even if they reprint certain things to dust with no time to give them a gradual decrease, like, that's good for you. You get your $8 personal tutors now. You get your medallions on release weekend when stores are liquidating product on TCG Player to recoup the value of the box that they spent a ton of money on at the distributor. They're selling singles at a loss, and you get to take advantage of that, and you get your $8 Urza Lord High Artificers when you blinked a year ago and they were $50. Like, that you get to take advantage of all these incredible prices as long as you pay some semblance of attention. And I mean, I'm speaking to the choir here. I am like the listenership here is already heard that sentiment a decent amount of times, but like, that is the reality that should be projected among the masses instead of...
we've always got new listeners, of course, DJ. Not everyone goes to patreon.com/BSB and supports us every month, as many of you do, making this podcast possible. Frankly, it's the reason our listeners are the reason we've been able to continue doing this for so long. So, but the point is, it's okay to say it again because there are always new people around.
I'm clicking on a card that is in Commander Masters right now. I'm clicking on the MTG stocks graph. Teferi Temporal Archmage.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a lot of this pre-con because this card was $40 in that pre-con. It is now approaching bulk mythic status and will likely be a bulk mythic after the aftermath of this set's release. That there are so many cards where Wizards has just hunted down the reprint equity and just skewered it with a hot knife, and like, it's rough for a lot of cards and a lot of stores that are trying to just constantly churn through this product. And you do have to, like, players have to adapt, stores have to adapt 10 times faster to the new world of $9 bribery, and it's rough, but like, that is good for the players in the short term.
I also think it's sort of a weird thing where a number of stores bought a lot of Commander Masters and got stuck with it. And I think more than ever, with the landscape changing as much as it is, there's being as many releases as there are, you need to be a lot more conservative and pick your battles with this kind of things, you know? You can't just like bet on one product to be a big winner. You kind of have to diversify. Even within Magic, you have to diversify. You know, a lot of stores just like do sealed product and then some singles, but like, you know, for every $1 you spend on one thing, that's $1 you're not spending on another, right? And if you just end up with a bunch of extra boxes of a set, you can get stuck with it, and that's really bad for your business, which in turn is really bad for your community, which is bad for your players, and it's bad for Magic.
Yes.
Yeah, which of course leads into the larger discussion of Wizards going too hard on any of this. Like, on the one hand, DJ's right, we should all cheer Wizards hunting down cards with reprint equity. On the other hand, if you destroy all your reprint equity, that means that logically the way to sell a set is to put broken new cards into it, because you can't lead the way with nostalgia or value in that way. Remember when Snapcaster could headline a set as a reprint? And yeah, we don't live in that world anymore, so it's good, but at the same time,
we still kind of do.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, on
Modern
the
Horizons
ones.
3 is going to have allied fetches, and if it doesn't, then I'll do something crazy for a bit. But like,
sure,
put a thing in the comments about what I should. But like, Modern Horizons 3 is going to sell that set with allied fetches in a cycle of crazy broken things, and
well, right, and the cycle of crazy broken things. Yeah, but like, so what I'm getting at here is, if your reprint equity is just sort of driven into the ground, you end up with things like maybe, say, the One Ring and Orcish Bowmasters being the top 2 played cards in an eternal format a week after they release. Right? Does that seem like a healthy level of power creep to anyone? You know, that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I mean,
and that's obviously they're not necessarily related directly, but it's just something to think about. Is that we've seen a lot of these direct to format releases that have really taken over
if every set
gameplay.
If there's like 4 sets a year that go direct to Modern and they all do that, like, the format just becomes a new format, and that's fine, I think.
Yeah, that's how I was explaining Modern to people, is that the cards are different but the decks are the same.
Yeah, like, we're still playing, you know, the broken big mana deck against the mid-range discard deck against the blue-based cantrip tempo deck. Like, it's still Steam Vents and Overgrown Tombs and Urza's Tower. It's just a little bit different. Like, Modern's always been about, you know, Steam Vents and Thoughtseize. That's the format.
Steam Vents, Thoughtseize, Blood Moon, Urza, right? Urza lands. It's like I say somebody's tweet was yet another Modern Pro Tour Finals that's Tron versus Blood Moon. And it's like, for all the change that the format's gone through, it's still Tron versus Blood Moon.
There was also a really funny thing I saw where someone was like, it was like a graph of how good Tron is in Modern based on, like, you know, over time, other than all the spikes were during the Pro Tour. And I think the graph was trying to insinuate that Tron has always been this good in Modern, but it only shows up at the PT. And it's, like, really funny because that person missed the point entirely of, like why Tron does well at PTs, and it's because it's a way more homogenized metagame.
Yes,
Tron just, like, loses to the weird random shit. No shade to the person who made that graph. It was a good bid. I'll give him that. But
no, you're right though about the Pro Tour metagame. Like, obviously at this one there's a lot of diversity, but the way the top of it shook out was Tron, Rhinos, Scam. Like
that's like half the field
Corbin,
right there, right?
As a Wizards representative, I think you have to say Rakdos Evoke.
DJ, novels were written about internally about Scam versus Evoke. Novels. I will call it whatever I voted for Evoke.
It's actually red-black mid-range.
Is it different than black-red mid-range, though?
So it's red-black mid-range because you usually want to play your Ragavan first, so the red comes before the black in that case.
Corbin's experiencing some red and black mid-range.
That was a famous Pro Tour gaffe. Infamous is probably a better word. By the coverage team, where they accidentally put they had like red black as a deck and then black red as a deck on a graph that went out, and it was meant to show that they were slightly different builds, but in reality the internet took it as Wizards trying to hide the dominance of this to cover up for their design mistakes.
The Wizards cabal is trying to hide the truth from us. We all know that Dominaria is flat.
Wow. So yeah, it's just I guess there's been a lot going on in Magic. It turns out we're not lacking for news these days or set release. And
I'm excited personally for the Fallout Universes Beyond because I've never actually played a Fallout game, but now I will have an excuse to.
I don't know anything about that universe at all. Jason said he was excited for it. I've never played any Fallout. I've never seen any gameplay of a Fallout. I've never done Final Fantasy. I've never done Assassin's Creed. So they're about to miss me on a bunch of these. But you're right. Maybe it gives you an opportunity. Maybe I'll pick up one of the games.
Like, I've always wanted to play a Fallout game because all my friends like it, and it conceptually seems kind of cool, but I never had a reason to, but now I do. So... I think actually for me the biggest success of Lord of the Rings Universes Beyond was Corey Baumeister live tweeting him watching the movies to prepare for coverage. That to me was the most charming aspect of all of it.
Yeah, it was really fun. Riley Knight is I would say that I'm one of the bigger like Lord of the Rings like reference nerds among the coverage team, but Riley is on another level, and he went in. If anyone, you should go check out his articles on TCG Player. He did a lot of basic, like interesting, like characters that are on the cards but aren't in the movies, or different, just like cool, different little bits about it. But he provided a back end document for the coverage team with notes and lore from almost every single card in the set. So that if it came up in limited, the casters would have a tidbit about how it played into the story. To look smart or whatever. So yeah, it was cool.
He was actually responsible for my favorite line on coverage over the course of the Pro Tour weekend, which was his commentator partner Corey. It was Corey, right?
Yeah, it was Corey.
Corey said that someone had Tron when they didn't. The guy had 2 towers and a mine. And he was like, he has Tron online, and Riley like leans over and goes, "Actually, no, it's the second film was the 2 towers, Corey, and there's 2 towers and a mine in play." And like if you blink, you miss it, and you kind of have to be in a franchise player to get it. But for me, it was like chef's kiss.
I was a huge fan of the Riley Corey pairing. We for once had an actual office at the PT, not just shuttled onto a table in the back, right? So we had fans, not air conditioning person. We had what amounted to air conditioning room. But I actually had a TV with the Pro Tour feed on with sound, not just like a production one that, I could look up at. And so I got to watch Pro Tour coverage for a large part of the weekend, which is not something we typically get to do in my position. And I really loved Corey and Riley as a pairing.
They both had great energy that fed into each other. I'm someone who tends to be pretty critical of commentary a lot of the time, but the whole team had a great energy, and it was just a delightful watch. And I miss watching the Pro Tour and really just like being into it. Part of that's because I was a curmudgeon for a long time and I'm trying to be positive, but Lord of the Rings and modern and good commentary is just like you can't beat it. Nothing like it.
It seemed to this. It's interesting. This is the third Pro Tour back in paper that we've done. This is the one that hit. It was in Europe. It wasn't even the one in the United States. So like there were far fewer people there in person. But it hit. Like it hit on social media. Everyone was following along. Everyone was invested. So I guess obviously that means that the coverage team did a great job hyping it up. But
Even
I also think modern's
ad.
a lot of it. Yeah.
Even without that arena ad.
True.
Every Pro Tour gets better than the last one since we came back. Like the first one was like okay, Minneapolis was even better. This was even better. I'm super excited to see what Vegas is going to be like because Worlds is in Vegas, right?
It is, and Worlds is a large field tournament, not a 16-player or 32-player event. It's like 100-something player event.
It's like Worlds used to be.
Yeah. Worlds used to be a 4th Pro Tour back in the day, or a 5th Pro Tour, depending on what year you were in.
Worlds was always really cool because it was a very unique format back in the day. It was like 3 days plus a top 8, and like each day was a different format with 8 rounds or something.
Yeah, and there was like a team portion of it way back in the day too.
Yeah, because it was like the national quality. The people who won nationals for second and third were the national team. I remember the year that Michael Jacob was on the team because I used to watch him stream a lot on Twitch, and he would play his coverage matches a lot from that Worlds.
Yeah.
And
2008.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it's weird because like I'm someone who rarely cares about like national pride or like rooting for my home team or whatever. But at Worlds every year, I was just like USA.
There's something primal that comes out of you.
Yeah, it's hard not to get into it.
I may have lost.
Clip the trucker vibe cast. USA. Just like a 3-second gif of
for sure.
The flannel.
This is not a trucker flannel, DJ. This is I love eating flannel.
What's the can't that be both?
I may have failed at breaking bulk earlier, but I did nail that U.S. Nationals reference. It was 2008.
That was actually perfect, yeah.
So we've had a lot of Boomer and Back in My Day talk so far this week.
True.
Let's talk about the future. So we at Gen Con, we had a litany of upcoming main sets announced, main sets being sets that are going to be put into the standard rotation. We have the Wilds of Eldraine and the Lost Caverns of Ixalan, those we already knew about. Then we have Murders at Karlov Manor, and I kept reading this as Markov, and I was very confused because everyone kept saying it was a Ravnica set, and I was like, Markov Manor got overlaid on. I was very confused, but it's a Ravnica murder mystery. So
it's a great use of the Ravnica plane, honestly.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean we have we had like witness protection in Streets of New Capenna, and everyone laughed, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is where that happens," and yeah, it's the same vibe. Yeah. Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which is the Mad Max Wild West cowboy hat. Just that they said it was villain themed, so and this is the Omen Path arc, so it's gonna be maybe some sort of evil Justice League.
Wait, what the hell is the last thing you said?
This is the how we just had the March of the Machines arc, Corbin.
Oh God!
This is the
so
Omen
all the
Path
planes
arc.
are connected now.
March of the Machine.
The World Tree.
There were multiple machines, Corbin. I said it was the March of the Machines arc. I didn't say it was the name of the set. That was the arc.
I understand. Okay.
So you're wrong.
So there's the Omen Path arc, which is because in March of the Machine, not plural. the World Tree connected all the planes, and then when the Phyrexians were defeated, some of those pathways stayed open.
Okay.
So now even non-planeswalkers, many of which are former planeswalkers, can travel between planes. And Thunder Junction seems to be a place where a lot of planeswalkers are going to end up. A junction of sorts.
Okay.
I really need a card called, like, Quick Draw or something. I love Westerns. I love, like, some campy stuff.
You're going to get it. They're not
excited.
They will leave no low-hanging fruit unpicked.
Well, and
which is a very Western thing to do, right? It's all about tropes and
Yeah.
Right, and so, I mean, we had all of the Twitter... Twitter curmudgeonry, I will say, about some of these universes beyond and about how some of these are disenfranchised, but like so many of these planes that I'm talking about, and we have after that we have Bloomborough, which is an animal people world. We had the mouse with the cape with a little sword. We have the very
Redwall,
right? Yeah,
Redwall, or what's the Disney movie where the mice go to the rescue?
the Mouseketeers.
It's like the two mice go in like the little boat and they rescue whatever.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I can picture it in
Chippendale's
my
Rescue
mind's
Rangers.
They have like a whole alarm system and everything. Well, anyway, Duskmorn, which is a haunted house, giant mansion.
Into that
we
too.
Have after
80s
that,
vibe too, apparently.
What is it?
It's like 80s horror,
Modern horror, right?
No, but
Is
they specifically said it's 80s horror aesthetics.
Nice.
And then there's several more planes after this. Interplanar Death Race. Now we're getting the ones that don't have actual names yet, where they use code names for the set.
That doesn't matter.
There's a space opera.
We have a Return to Lorwyn. There's a whole, but like all of these planes that I'm mentioning are all just top-down designs, which our Magic players love. Where they pick the theme, and top-down being they pick the theme and then say, this is what we're doing, but Magic. And Innistrad is the best example of this, where they said, Gothic horror, but Magic, go. Yeah. And that is what revitalized Magic. That is what brought so many people in from outside, even before Universes Beyond. People came to Magic for Innistrad like, I know Dracula, I know Frankenstein, I can do this. And all of these planes are just top-down, here's the theme, here's what you love, go.
Brainstorm Brewery is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for the family jewels. The Performance Package is the ultimate hygiene bundle. Join over 8 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. We have 20% and free worldwide shipping if you use the code BSB. You'll get the Performance Package 4.0. It's really a game changer. Inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, as well as a gift of Performance Boxer Briefs and a travel bag. This is everything you need if you are traveling and want to take care of yourself just a little bit better than maybe you have in the past. Manscaped has all of the tools for you. Join over 8 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. We have 20% and free worldwide shipping if you use the code BSB.
I mean, they showed us some concept art for. I shouted about space operas because I love space operas, but they showed us some concept art, and it's like very clearly actually sci-fi, which is something that Magic has sort of shied away from in the past.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm into it. I'm here for it. If we're getting Doctor Who, we're already going to have the alien subtype. Why not have a space station in Magic? Screw it. Who cares? We have Warhammer.
And then we also just have... We have so many levels of advanced technology in the multiverse that has been shown us. We have the reality chip. Like, it's fine. We have Neo Dynasty Cyberpunk. That level of fantasy has integrated so deeply, and they were always toying with like, oh, it's a multiverse. Anything could be out there. Anything could be just swords and magic. But now we've
unlocked this DJ, this lore DJ.
I'm into it. I'm here for it.
Hell yeah.
We have everything that we can want, and it's just the whole it's a free day class, draw whatever you want. Like, I love it. I am here for the upcoming Magic sets. If Magic dies, I'm going down with the ship.
A lot of people, myself included, have complained about Magic IP getting weaker and, them really pushing Universes Beyond stuff. But honestly, Magic players who like Magic Worlds are eating better than ever.
And if I recall, there was also a Mark Rosewater article at some point in the past few years that said something like
the creative team was overworked.
Yeah.
So it sure helps if there's a set every year that the creative team does not have to invent an entirely new world for. I'll also add this, that when we've talked a lot about the negative aspects of the losing the block model, and how it feels like everything just comes and goes really fast and there's not as much continuity, blah, blah, blah.
And there is some truth to that, yes.
I agree. But what it does, the loss of that, what it does allow you to do are these event sets in the sense that, and I don't want to use that in like whatever that they described Aftermath or whatever weird that way. I mean the idea that we can go to Ravnica and do one thing on Ravnica that is very particular, and
they're one shots.
Yeah, and then we're out. Yeah, that's fine. And then we're into the mansion, the mansion one or whatever. That sounds
I am a little
cool.
confused what the difference between Ravnica murder mystery and giant mansion horror is.
Well,
like
one of them
is Clue. One is Clue and one is like haunted
slasher.
house.
Yeah.
I'm still confused at the differences between those two.
Well, one is Clue, one is Freddy Krueger. Like in Clue, it's just like normal people. You get a bunch of famous people in a room and someone committed a murder. It's a whodunit.
Yeah.
And then the murder, like the haunted mansion one, is like Freddy Krueger's in the house and he's gonna get you.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So if it plays out how we're thinking about it, right? The marketing for it would hopefully include a list of suspects for this whole whodunit thing, right? You build it all up, and then you have a reveal with a set card, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? But I could think of a lot of cool things.
Like, we're literally getting a version of Magic the Gathering Clue in conjunction with it.
Oh.
I think
doesn't Hasbro have Clue? Don't they own Clue?
Most likely.
Like, I think I saw something about there being, like, a Ravnica-themed Clue game with the characters from the set. And, like,
good.
As much as I hate
that sounds
awesome. That is product synergy at its best.
That is synergy.
The corporate people love that.
So we got to prop up Hasbro somehow, not just with money. We got to prop up their.
This is going back another time traveling thing from almost 10 years ago now, which is a little scary. But when Eternal Masters released, which is one of the first Eternal legal master sets, where they first gave us Caracas and Force of Will and all these other cards, that was pre-Conspiracy 1. And so on the back of every Eternal Masters token, there was this half-text nonsense where it was a code that you had to combine all of these token sheets on the back of Eternal Masters. And the internet got to work together over the course of a week or two and just figure out that it was this teaser, this lengthy, I think it was a letter that Marchesa drafted or something. It was this really cool teaser for Conspiracy. And I love stuff like that, where it's just the community gets to come together and all the puzzle solvers come out of the woodwork of just, okay, we need to organize a Discord server, a hierarchy of systems let's break this code. And I just love anything that has to do with that.
A long time ago, we had geocaches with spoilers in them.
Yeah.
Wasn't Jace the Mind Sculptor spoiled that way? Or
there
Jace
was
the Mind
Jace. There was a Jace puzzle where like 6 or 7 pieces across the world were found and then combined, and when they released the Jace image.
Yeah. Stuff like that is marketing genius.
I think it is too. That said, I feel like they've gone away from that pretty heavily, which means either, you could say that they just have so much coming out, it's harder for them to act on some of these longer build-up type marketing plans if they're just forced to go from one thing to the next, logistic. But also maybe they determined that wasn't the best ROI on that sort of thing, because it only interacts with the community for a short amount of time, and then once it's done, it's just done, and it only is for enfranchised people. Maybe you're better off advertising, spending the resources there, doing some other thing.
Yeah, it's a little heartbreaking that things like that don't get Kotaku headlines compared to the Post Below. I had friends reach out and who have never played Magic, and they're I heard a card sold for $2 million. Yeah, I get it.
I think that if they don't do it for the murder mystery set, they're never doing it again.
Yeah, it would be really cool if they did.
I would also accept a 30-minute video of. You remember the videos where it's the real history of Dominaria, but it's really low production value. It's the WotC team. I would love that for the murder
that's
mystery.
that's the good luck good luck have fun podcasting.
Right.
Megan and Maria working with WotC. A lot of those sort of cooler marketing things are sort of their brainchild.
Those are super fun. I would love something like that. Like, so I'm someone who I've never played World of Warcraft. I've played Hearthstone a bunch, but I have seen all of the World of Warcraft cinematics, and some of them are like my favorite videos on the internet.
Yeah.
The one where I think it's Uther. He's like standing in the middle of like the big open field, and all the big guys are running at him, and he reaches his hand up, and like the power comes down from above, and he gets to like do some
It was
paladin
probably
shit.
Adrian. What's his name? Vryn. But sure.
Yeah. Either way,
it's the
been
new
a long
Uther.
time since I've seen it. Yeah.
It's the new.
It was
Uther.
awesome. It was great. I
Yeah.
watched all that.
Ben loves them too. Like,
Give me that for Magic.
It's hooked him. Well, they did for a little while.
Don't worry, the
They weren't good,
Netflix
though.
series is coming, huh?
Well,
isn't
I
the
just got me
guy-
thinking with Eldraine, right? I think back to the trailer for the original Eldraine with Garrick and the gingerbread man story. That was cool as
That
hell.
one was very good.
And do you think we're going to get anything like that as a sequel? There's
I think we
new
have to for
management in
Eldraine too.
place, and who knows?
So
what we'll get.
Eldraine is a success because Shrek is a success. I think we have to get something animated.
We've gone through this, and we'll have the Eldraine with a Shrek 6 crossover, and it'll be fine.
It wouldn't be the podcast if I didn't mention how good Shrek 2 is. I've gotten it in like the last 3 weeks. Go watch Shrek 2.
All right, let's move on to our picks of the week here. But before we do, let's talk about the other sponsor of this podcast, Coalesce Apparel and Design. Number one, best place on the internet for all of your Magic apparel from us or your other favorite content creators. With the gift code Brainstorm Brewery, you can get a discount from any of the content creators, and you'd be supporting the community because, as we know, Coalesce is run by members of our community for our community, and that is why we're happy to partner with them. So go to Coalesce Apparel and Design, use that gift code Brainstorm Brewery, pick up some apparels. All right, let's move in.
Wait, Corbin.
Yes, TJ.
I have a little add-on at the end of that.
Yeah, go ahead.
For those of you who have been DMing me asking about the new shirt design, it would be more beneficial for you to tweet at Coalesce and ask them about the new Brainstorm Brewery shirt design, because they need to see demand, which can be manifested in the form of tweets at them, adding me in the public BSB Discord requests, podcast feedback. Just manifest your demand for this next shirt design. I think it's really cool. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm very, very excited for when we release it. But I have a design in mind. It is in the mind space. It is in the mind palace, and we need to get it onto your body immediately.
We want your body on DJ's mind.
Yes.
Okay. And obviously that flows naturally into pick of the week.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
Corbin with his graceful as
You missed me. I know the listeners miss these transitions, and that's why I'm back, and I am picking Murktide Regent as my pick of the week. This is the deck that I believe it got hurt the hardest by Lord of the Rings. They wanted to give something back to them. Preordained slots immediately into this deck and is actually an upgrade in the way it is not in a lot of the other decks we've sort of talked about, because this is the deck that's going to trade resources for the first 3 turns and then need a cantrip. It's actually going to get to that position, and of course, being the spell deck, it's very good. So Murktide Regent, $14, starting to creep up for Modern Horizons 2. We have seen modern prices move very quickly in the wake of the Pro Tour, and this is, I think, going to be one of the next dominoes to fall.
Speaking of preordained cards, cards that Preordain makes better, my pick this week is Pyromancer Ascension, which is basically a bulk rare.
That card is a bulk. It is a bulk rare. My Roka doesn't pick it anymore. That card is actually a bulk rare, and it's crazy.
Wow. So the card has not been good for a while. It stopped playing like Phoenix for a while there as like a way to win the mirror. But this card's power level is pretty well commensurate to how good the cantrips are. The deck's probably pretty embarrassing against Orcish Bowmaster, but this card is very powerful. It's a penny stock, basically. I love just like having a brick of these sitting around because it doesn't take a lot for this card to get broken.
That is true.
Sure.
And then you just bolt the Bowmasters 4 times
Kill it.
or whatever. Yeah. Nice. Also, it could play the ring, and then you have protection from Bowmasters. Like I've been messing with a bunch of decks, and this is what I think may actually get the ring banned in Modern eventually. Is that it's just kind of always the best thing in the middle, right? Like
It's weird because like when it becomes the best thing, the decks that beat up on it being the best thing get to come out.
yeah, and that's the thing is it goes in mostly fair decks, right? I don't think I played it in unfair decks, but the point is it costs 4 mana.
I have heard the One Ring described as Jace the Mind Sculptor, but at a 2023 power level.
That's exactly how I describe it, honestly.
Yeah.
If Jace the Mind Sculptor gets too good, you start playing Spell Pierces, you start playing more Force Negations. Like, I think the Rhinos deck, honestly, is quite good against a lot of the Ring decks, especially with the Kai Buddha tech of Questing Beast.
Exactly. That's what I think the Pro Tour did what the Pro Tour does. And you're right, the Rhinos deck, the Questing Beast tech, huge.
Man, I love me a Skullcrack. I love love the facial reactions that Skullcrack generate. I just love every sort of
you can Skullcrack yourself and burn to get around the ring, by the way. Because it says damage can't be prevented, you just need a target. But yeah, that was a piece of tech that was huge. The new builds of Tron that Team Handshake had were in their own way good, but also Haywire Might has become a key part of the format because you just get to shove it in your deck and then Urza Saga for it or Karn for it to exiles people's rings. So it's just kind of like, it's really good, and in some level it's generally just sort of the best thing to be doing either at the top of your curve or in the middle of your curve, but it is more or less answerable by the format.
Yeah.
Sure.
At least that's the way it seems so far.
So my pick is in line with the unbanned announcement as well. They unbanned Mind's Desire, which is a 6-mana sorcery that probably does nothing in the format. I am picking another 6-mana, potentially does nothing, and that is Yawgmoth's Bargain.
Okay.
This is a reserved list black enchantment from Urza's Corbin. This is a beaker, just so you know. It's not. I know if I say the set name, you're gonna be like, it's Urza's Rake next time, or Urza's Gardening Shovel.
That's Destiny. Everyone knows that's Destiny, bro.
Sure.
It's actually Legacy, Corbin. I'm just fucking with them. It's fine. Do you believe me?
I wouldn't know.
This card's roughly like $7 or $8 if you get lightly played copies on TCG Player. It's reserved list, so it is probably not going anywhere. The demand for it can be really hard to find. You have to find very specific CEDH players or Cube players who do buy the card. So it's a long shot. But if it ever gets unbanned, this is like $80 or $90, and then it'll slowly go back down to like $30. And at such a low buy, foils are real pricey. Like, you can get a foil. The foil is if you need one eventually for your cube, now is an okay time to get it.
Notably, foils of that card are actually in my top 5 favorite like card aesthetics of all time. It's like number 4 for me. The card just looks amazing in foil.
Oh yeah, Urza's foils hit different. I just I've always liked picking banned cards because even if there's some sort of theoretical, I mean, we see it with Splinter Twin, right? I don't need to explain how a Splinter Twin graph works. Yawgmoth's Bargain is not on the same. Nobody has their pulse, or nobody has their finger on the pulse of Yawgmoth's Bargain like Splinter Twin. Nobody's like, oh, I'm rearing to play with my 4 Yawgmoth's Bargains. But this is like Mind's Desire in that if it gets unbanned, because Wizards figures out that it's okay, you will sell these copies at 4x, and it's a very cheap buy-in. At a minimum. And if you don't sell them because it doesn't get unbanned, you open them up for your binder 3 years from now, and maybe they're 15 or 20 just based on scarcity alone.
Yeah, it's anything that is that old and or reserved list obviously is going to be an attractive target. I have not seen this card played. Did this used to be like this feels to me, and I could be mixing it up, like a 1990s Magic card, like competitive card.
Bargain?
Yeah.
You're asking me if Yawgmoth's Bargain saw competitive play when it was in Standard?
Yeah, I think so.
Corbin, are you dead again?
Are you okay?
You could Academy Rector for it, and then win the game that same turn.
I just thought that I decided to throw out one more attempt at bait before the end of the show, and you know what? We got there, baby.
You imbecile.
Oh, bargain's busted.
That's so good. If someone didn't take the bait, it would be a bad episode, you know?
I agree. The rule is yes and, so thank you, Cass. And thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. This is Brainstorm Brewery. I'm glad to be back. We will see you